Good evening, welcome to the United Stand. My name is Levin2K and we are here after what was a very disappointing result. I'll say it's a very disappointing result. I'm sure a lot of people will be quite frustrated. I know there's a couple of people who Carabao Cup, it don't matter and whatnot, but ultimately, this is a competition where we should be beating West Ham's second team. We should be. You look at the lineup that was put out, a lot of those players in that team are players who are fighting for positions, fighting to prove they deserve a chance to play football in more than just the Carabao Cup. And quite frankly, a lot of them failed. Now, there were some good performances, there were some okay performances, and there were some stinkers. We will cover all of these things, but ultimately, I think, you know, we're going to look back at this one as a disappointing result, because that's where it is. This is a game we should be winning, second team or not, whether they've played a lot together or not. I'm going to allow these guys to really share their thoughts on things. I can't say I'm too happy. I can't say there's many positive things that are going to be coming out of my mouth tonight, but I always try to keep it like that. Nevertheless, I'm joined by three amazing panelists. I'm here with the lovely Beth.
Oh, hi.
Hi. I'm joined by the one and only Van Cam. Kevin, how you doing, my friend?
Very well. Well, not really, but try.
Look at the smile. The smile, the eyes. Such a handsome man. And one and only, the number one DJ worldwide. All right, we've got the one and only Jordan joining us today. Jordan, I would say, how are you feeling? But I probably know how you're feeling. But nevertheless, how are you feeling?
Yeah. We're good. We're okay.
Okay. Well, the vibes are clearly high right now, as you guys can tell. Look, I want to start off with you, Beth. I want to know, sort of how you feel about this game. Just give me the sort of raw emotion, how you're feeling after seeing 90 minutes of that.
I mean, it was such a tough game to watch because constantly, it's like the typical Man United game. You always think, oh, we're going to win, we're going to score. The chances kept coming, but it's the same thing against a team that puts out. I mean, it is kind of West Ham's second team, but they were very good defensively, to be fair to them. And the amount of chances we got, the problem was we just didn't have any clear finishing. And I think that does show from the team he put out. Like, we didn't have the players that are just ice cold in front of goal. I thought Martial was really disappointing, considering we know what type of player he was, and he just doesn't seem to be that at all anymore. So I think he kind of took up no space as like a number 9. And I just thought it was a very disappointing game. I thought it might end up going to penalties. I did think we were going to get the goal. Didn't happen. It just seemed like quite lethargic. And I am obviously disappointing because it's a chance to get a trophy. And that is something we desperately need under Ollie. And it's probably one of the easiest cups you can get one in. But at the same time, it is the Carabao Cup. It's not, to me, as important as anything else. Like, everything else is above it. And now it's just time to focus on Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup even, because that's probably our best chance now that we've got a trophy. And yeah, if it was like a Champions Premier League game, I'd be a lot more disappointed in the performance. But we saw a few players that are kind of on the bench most of the time play pretty well, I thought. We saw some players that really didn't play well. And it kind of gave us a grasp of how good our B team actually is. And that's all I'm taking away from it, is how good these players that we always say use the squad actually are. And there's some that are up to it, and there's some that really aren't. But obviously, I'll let the other guys get into that. But disappointed, but I'm not going to stay up all night thinking about it. It's one of them.
But before we move on from you, you say you're disappointed. Are you surprised? Are you surprised by this?
Not really, to be honest. Not really, and that's disappointing, because as a Manchester United fan, you want to be surprised at any loss, especially West Ham at home. Like, West Ham are a decent team, but at the end of the day, it was their second team as well as our second team. But our second team should be able to beat that team very easily. So in that kind of margin, I'm a little bit surprised. But at the same time, I just knew off the back of that win at West Ham, that hard-fought win, going into this game, I knew that the mentality wasn't going to be there, and I did know that we would struggle. And I thought if we won it, it would probably be through like an edgy goal or a moment of brilliance. And unfortunately, we didn't have the players on the pitch to create that moment of brilliance that we heavily rely on. And that's why we didn't get the win. I mean, when Mason Greenwood came on, that was kind of when things started to light up a lot more. And that's because he's one of the players that can provide that moment of brilliance that we're so used to seeing. But you know what? It didn't end up happening. And when it doesn't end up happening, which it isn't going to happen every game, out of circumstance, out of chance, I thought the defence played really well, and it isn't going to happen every game. And then you start to delve deeper into the performance. And for me, I mean, we had a lot of possession. We did create chances, but did we really create that many clear-cut chances? Was there that many patterns of play? Was it a little bit slow-paced? I just didn't think that the cutting edge was there, the cutting edge that we needed. And especially when you're playing West Ham's B team, it is disappointing to see, because we always say rotate the squad, use your squad players. But if your squad players aren't going to be able to beat West Ham in a competition where you're going to think that the players are really hungry to win a trophy, then maybe they aren't good enough to be rotated like Ollie's not been doing. But I tell you what, some players in the team today didn't deserve to lose, and I hope they don't get a chance. I hope they continue to try and get a chance under Ollie still, despite the result, because there is some players that I thought proved that they are good enough today, and there's some that certainly didn't. I don't know if it's just because they've come back from injury, if it's because they've not played in a long time, but God, Tellers at left back was a shocker, wasn't it?
Yeah, coming back from injury, and it wasn't his best performance. Kev, let me know what you sort of thought of the match as it sort of went on by, and sort of the conclusion, and whether you're surprised by how it went out, or just give me your general thoughts on it, man.
Listen, I don't think anybody would have been surprised to see the lineup. We discussed on last night's show, obviously looking at what team we would choose. Now, the one thing I would say is I would have had Greenwood starting up front and Martial out on the left. If I'm taking one thing from today, there's players' futures on the line at Manchester United. Now, there might be people in the comment section carrying on saying this is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's fault. I think he's given these players a chance today, and some of them have let him down. And the one person in particular I'm going to say is the man that's wearing that number 9 shirt, the man that believes he can be Manchester United's number 9, and that is Martial. I thought his body language, everything this evening suggested that he's not even there. He doesn't even want to fight to be in this team. And I think that's really, really sad. It actually made me quite angry as well. Just everything about his performance, right? He's on the pitch for how long? Mason Greenwood was on the pitch for what, 10 seconds, and makes one run that Martial never made in the entire, first half of that game. Greenwood's in on goal and a chance. And that's for me why Martial will never cut it as a number 9 at Manchester United, because he does not make them runs. Yes, he loves the ball played into his feet. He just did not do it tonight. And for some reason, I don't know what it is. Does he need to move clubs? A lot of United fans were shocked when Mourinho wanted to sell him, to get funds to buy players. And now you sort of look back and think, well, maybe he did have a point. Maybe he's seen something in training every day that suggests that Martial will not cut it at United. But on the performance, 27 attempts, 6 shots on target, the front three, when you looked at it on paper, you probably thought, yeah, and Beth's right, we should have been good enough to beat West Ham. And I do think it is a shock that we've been beaten this evening. On paper, I said there's some things I wouldn't have changed. There's some things that I don't agree with. But ultimately, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has given a lot of players a chance today that a lot of us have been crying out for. The lots of Donny van der Beek. And some of them, for some reason, just haven't stood up to it this evening. So, but my main one, I'm sure, I don't know whether anyone wants to speak on Martial. I think it is a good topic because I can see a few comments coming through on, in the comments section about Martial this evening. Is it a one-off game where, he's had a bad game and we put it down to that? Or am I reading too much into it where I look and I think, body language-wise and the way that he carried on tonight, it's almost like he's not up for the fight at Old Trafford?
Look, my opinion on it, I think Martial, he's not helped himself. Let's just say that, right? I don't think it's fair to put all the blame on him, because I look around at that squad and I think there are a couple very mediocre performances that we saw today. But yeah, he hasn't helped himself. I very much agree with you, Kev, where I see a lot of people, giving Ollie stick for the selection. And other than Matt, I don't think there was much wrong with the selection, because very much the players on the pitch are players who need to prove themselves, players who want more opportunity. Martial is somebody who we've all talked about, how with Ronaldo coming in, with how good Cavani was last season, with a lot of the other attacking players you have in the squad, Martial's actually probably, the worst off of anybody. And these are the kind of opportunities that you sort of need to prove yourself. And I don't think he's helped himself in that department. So I don't think you're reading too much into it. I do think there's something there to be talked about, especially since, this morning there were links about him potentially leaving the club moving forward. And I think that's going to be a conversation that's had now quite a bit. And it's almost down to him. His performances just haven't been where he needs them to be.
Yeah, guys, I don't think Martial's had his head in the game for a while. It's very easy to throw shade at him, but like you're saying, Kev, he really doesn't help himself, with his work rate when he hasn't got the ball and him trying to drop deep and make something happen. You see with Ronaldo how deep he drops sometimes to try and pick the ball up and turn something into nothing, and we just don't seem to get that from Tony. So it's very easy for people who are have a negative perception of Tony to dig him out because he doesn't help us. What I'd say about today's game is that I'd said earlier in the day when I did the Insta Live that asking me about what changes to make. And obviously everyone's entitled to their own opinion. My opinion is that I wouldn't have changed the whole 11. The players that came in today are used to training on their own, warming up on their own, sitting on the bench on their own. When you look around and you see all of those players around you at the same time, it's a mental thing of like, the pressure is on, it's do or die now. Whereas when you integrate 3 or 4 players into the starting 11, it gives those players a better opportunity to try and deliver with the quality around them and people that are playing with a rhythm. So even with our normal starting 11, we don't seem to create a lot. So I wasn't overly optimistic that we were going to create a load today. Having said that, when I seen the team sheet come out, I wasn't mad at it. I looked at the strength of that team and it really reminded me of how many players we're actually carrying. Again, apart from Mata, I looked at it and thought, do you know what? Individually, every one of you players should be playing in the Carabao Cup and should be able to take us into the next round. And by going out, what that's also done is now stifled their own opportunity to get into the first team. So they've only shot themselves in the foot. I think Beth said it. There was 3 or 4 players that I thought did themselves justice, but unfortunately, because the result wasn't there, that might now be overshadowed, and those players are not going to get the chance to shine. Whereas if you integrate those players into the first 11, there's a much better chance for them to move on and get more minutes.
It's interesting because you sort of mentioned the team selection and how you think things should have went down, and I think you made some great points. Ultimately, a lot of the conversation now around the match is what part does the manager play in this, right? Is he wrong, for tactical decisions and the way the game played out in that sense, or was he wrong for the team selection? I think you could probably argue both sides. I sort of have gauged where Kevin and Jordan are with that. Beth, do you think he went wrong with switching up that many players, or do you think he was right to put all those 11 on? It's just they let him down by not playing good enough.
I was totally for making all them changes. I've got to be honest. Like you can't go back on it now. Like I was totally for making all them changes because I thought that them players would be able to beat West Ham at home, especially because there was rumours going around that West Ham were going to play a second team. And you think to yourself, surely internationals in that team, there's some experienced players, there's a little bit of youth. With Alanga coming on, you've got players that literally play international football, players that used to be in our A team last year as well. Sancho's literally played Champions League football, tore it up in Dortmund. Lingard, who's been literally like a super sub recently. You would have thought that these players would be able to beat that West Ham team. So I understand why Ollie made the changes. And it's true. What is the point of having these players if they can't play games like this? This is what they are literally there for. They are squad players. So I was for making them changes. I thought the problem was, where Ollie went wrong a little bit for me is you could tell the tempo of the game wasn't getting us anywhere, and it was like that the whole way through. What I would have thought that a manager would be able to do is kind of change it up and change the game so we would get better chances, so the tempo would get quicker, so we would kind of create patterns of play that did make the chances a lot more clear-cut. For me, it just kind of seemed the same the whole way through the game, and that's what I would have liked to see from Ollie. I thought his subs player for player were good, but I thought just the tactics didn't change throughout the whole game, to be honest, and I thought that's where he went wrong, because you could see what was happening. West Ham were counter-attacking us, they were kind of caging us in, and it was hard to get chances, but at the same time, the way that a manager can deal with that is by changing the tactics of the game, which again lacked, and it's over and over again. I mean, I know it's only the Carabao Cup, but it's the same thing. When we're not being able to score against these teams that put up a good defence against us and play that low block, we always need that moment of brilliance to score. We don't actually create clear-cut chances, and this is a problem we keep seeing. And then when we don't score, obviously, like no one's happy. So I agree with the team selection because I think them players should be able to play. I'm glad we've got.
Oh.
Wait. Sounded like one of my
Jordan.
mixes. Come on, Beth. Hold it down.
I think it was a cat again, you know. I think it was a cat again. And like Jordan said,
Really?
Beth.
DJ,
Pull up.
like John said, we're knocked out of the Carabao Cup and then players have just shot themselves in the foot at the end of the day. It's true. And they're not going to get another chance now because we know what Ollie's like. Now, when we have an important game coming up, well, this game is important to win a trophy. He's just going to revert back to, I've got to play Bruno for 90 minutes. Rashford's got to play 90 minutes. And he's going to play all his best players. The one thing I would say, though, is that I did think the attackers did massively let us down because, I mean, you put Ronaldo, you put Cavani in that box, I do think they would have got onto them chances a lot more easily. I do think we would have scored some goals tonight. And I do think, I'm not putting all the blame on Martial, but I did want to have like a little touch on the fact his movement inside the box was so poor. I thought his decision making was so poor. And like Kev said, his energy and like the kind of effort he was putting in wasn't great. And I've seen people in the comments saying, you know what, he had no service, but sometimes strikers have to make their own service a little bit. They've got to get in them positions. They've got to anticipate the play. And I thought his anticipation levels were so poor tonight. There's a lot of times in the box where he was just static when balls were coming in. And I thought that is what let us down. He's just not a number 9 for us, in my opinion, especially after watching him again tonight.
Guys, did anyone else
get Jordan, I'm feeling your job here, DJ Bev.
Guys, did anyone else get the impression that Ollie said, just shoot on sight?
Well, that's the thing, Jordan. Right? I was literally going to say that, right? Because shout out Statman Dave, right? He put out a tweet saying Man United had 27 shots versus West Ham, but only 4 of them were shots on target from inside the box. You know, it really did feel like that, where we were not creating high percentage chances whatsoever. You know, you look at some of the better teams in Europe and in the Premier League, you know, they're teams where almost their principles are about creating very high percentage shots. You know, very much when you look at Pep, for example, right? You know, there's very much a formula there in a way that they look to get shots where you have, you know, good chance of scoring. But today it really felt like if you're in front of goal and you got a bit of space, you know, just let it off, like let it fly. And it was really frustrating to watch, you know, as a fan, because I'm going to sit here and advocate like I'm better than a footballer and I can do a better job. But you do sit there and you think to yourself, just play the extra pass. What, you know, why are you forcing it? You know, we need to actually get back in this game. We're not 3-0 up and you're just trying to score a fancy goal. Like we really were frustrating in that sense. You know, is this a problem though? Because I think a lot of people would say that's actually testament to the manager and the system. Because any team that changes 11 men, you will see a drop-off in the way they play in the system. It's not going to look as good. Pep teams, when it's like a full rotation and they play, it doesn't look like a typical Pep team, right? There will still be similar aspects there. But for us today, it was a very big drop-off where, you know, we just didn't look good. I don't know, the football for me, it just wasn't really fun. It was very, you know, it wasn't fully willy-nilly, but it did give off that feel. Would you agree, Jordan? Is that the sort of impression you got? Is that a problem for us?
Yeah, well, again, it comes down to style of play, because I think the other day, it was all long balls. That seemed to be the motive. Everything was long balls, passing it backwards and whatnot. Today just seemed to be shoot on sight. And a lot of them were just hitting hopes. It wasn't like, you know, I don't know if everyone took inspiration from Lingard's goal the other day and just thought, you know, I can do it. But back to Best's point about, you know, influencing the game and making changes and stuff. Again, you know, this is something that we've seen time and time again, you know, from Ollie, that he doesn't adapt during the games to make things happen and whatnot. And I agree. I didn't agree initially with that many changes. I didn't want to see that many changes, because I really want us to win a trophy. And I think this is probably the easiest trophy for us to win. But then when I seen that starting 11, every player, I looked at them and just thought, you know what? Everyone deserves to play other than Mata. But then I thought to myself, if you're going to pay Mata all that much money, then what game is he going to play? If he can't play West Ham at home in the Carabao Cup, then there literally is no point in having him there. So, yeah, disappointed.
And for me, that's the thing. If you look at the team that he's put out today, he's probably saying, go out there and give me a headache for Saturday. Talk yourself into this team for Saturday and give me a headache. For whatever reason, yes, listen, West Ham have won 1-0. They've done a job on us, but I think that's more the disappointing thing, is that I can't think of really any of them players now. You think we've rested the likes, I know Bruno come on, but we've rested the likes of Pogba, Ronaldo, Varane, Maguire, you know, big Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, they'll all walk straight back into that team. And so they should. When you look at that performance, it's the fact that nobody's giving that headache where they've gone, oh, bloody hell, you know, let's just say, for instance, Martial's had an absolute worldie there. How can I not leave him out, you know, on Saturday? He's talked himself into contention, but it's not happened. And that's what we want at United. And I always say, it's competition for places.
Yeah.
So is the squad, is this so-called B team as good as we actually think? Or is it just on paper, it looks really good? You know, a selection of great names, but when you put them together, there's no cohesion, just nothing going on, is there really?
I actually think some players did put themselves in contention, even though we lost. I thought even though we did lose the game, it wasn't down to everyone. I think some players played their position well. I thought Donny played really well, especially in the first half. I thought Mike played great. And do you know what? I've had so many mixed comments about this on Twitter, but I actually thought Dalot played really well. I don't know if anyone else thought that. Like, for me personally, I mean, I know like his shot wasn't great and I know some of the crosses were off, but it's seeing the potential and seeing the way someone plays. And I know everyone here knows that I like an offensive fullback. And for me, just his position on the pitch was way further up. He was getting in attacking position. Some of the crosses he did put in, I thought Cavani or Ronaldo was in there, they'd be getting on the end of him. I thought his link-up play on the right-hand side was good. I even thought like he wasn't like Tellers defensively, like he did do his duties. And I just thought, especially in the first half, you could see how comfortable he was with the football at his feet. And as a fullback, I think that's so important. And that's just, it depends what you like. It depends what you like, because some people would say no, Wan-Bissaka 100%. And for me, I just think Dalot's one of them players. I'm not saying he should become the first choice right back, but I definitely think he should be given more of a chance in games where we need to score goals, we can get up the pitch, because I thought he gets up the pitch so well. And I think if he had Bruno in around him, Ronaldo in around him, players that usually start these big games for us, I do think you would have seen people big him up a little bit more, because I thought he was getting in good positions and I thought that the crosses he was putting in, maybe Ronaldo would be able to get in the end of. And in the midfield, you actually saw Donny van de Beek turning, getting into space, running in behind, putting passes in. You just don't see McFred make. Like, McFred can't make the through balls that Donny did today. And they're just a few players that I did think played well. But like you said, the front three let them down. What I thought about the front three, though, is I think they were trying, not Martial, because I like Martial, but I actually don't think he put in the effort today. That was like, Solskjaer, I want to be back in this team. But with Sancho and Lingard, I did think maybe they were trying a little bit too hard individually instead of playing as a team to get, to get themselves up in the pecking order. But like Lingard just passed the ball.
Sorry, who did you say, Beth?
She said Lingard and Sancho.
Lingard and Sancho.
All right.
Yeah, so what I'd say on that, when it comes to Dalot, I'll go back to the Dalot thing. I didn't think Dalot was particularly amazing, but I get what you mean, because I think even with him not having like a world-class game or anything, you definitely can see the difference between him and Wan-Bissaka. He has more of an attacking instinct. There was times when he was in good positions, like I think it was it the Sancho chance or Martial chance, when like if he had just got into Dalot, he could have tapped it in, for example, right? The shot that he had where it just went wide, it was like, he was getting in good positions to be a threat in attack, and that's something we've been looking for. Of course, the end product and the quality just wasn't there. And I think for a lot of people today, it wasn't there. On Donny, I'd almost agree. Yeah, like Donny showed that, when you look at the game on Sunday with West Ham, Fred and McTominay, they weren't able to get the ball out of the midfield effectively enough. And Ollie made a decision to bring, Matic on for Fred to be able to do that. And Matic was great, right? He was able to keep the ball and he was able to get the ball to the attack as well. And that's how we scored the goal for Lingard. And I think many aspects of Donny's performance today showed that he can be that guy instead of Matic. Like, if you need someone to come on and help you to, really progress the ball from the midfield, he can do that. Some of the balls over the top are brilliant. Some of them were genuinely brilliant. Well, yeah, I think, once again, as much as I thought Donny was good, and I think you probably could argue Donny was our best player today, it wasn't complete, right? It wasn't, perfect. And I think genuinely, that's almost the one thing that worried me, where there was nobody that I really thought was like, okay, there's no way they can not play on the weekend now, right? And it's sort of like what Kev was saying with the headache thing, right? There was nobody that really did that. The person who did it the most was Donny, but even then, I think I could definitely see a world where Ollie probably still wouldn't consider Donny over the week. Oh,
Jordan's going back. Sick of it.
I've had enough of you lot.
Another pound in the meter. 1 minute.
Jordan, it was a pleasure having you. We will see you all on the weekend. Nevertheless, we're gonna move on with that one. Look, I think that you know, Ollie will be very disappointed. I think a lot of people talking about the disappointments they have. I think Ollie will be very disappointed because we keep, you know, coming back to this point because it is just so true. I think he would have went into this game really looking for these guys to show him that he's not wrong to not pick them, etc. And I don't think he will feel like he got that out of many people at all.
Do you not think, though, in some aspects, you've got to remember, like it said, Dal hasn't played a game at Old Trafford in like 18 months. Like, Donny's not really getting regular time. These players are not going to be like absolutely world class straight away when they've not had that much game time, and none of them have chemistry because they're not used to playing with each other. That's just the one thing. Like, when I saw, and I don't want to long it out too much, but when I saw Donny and Mike playing that pivot role, I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually think Pogba should be playing in the pivot for us on a weekly basis, but that's not happening. Ollie's choosing McFred. And when I look at Donny and Mike and when I look at McFred, for me, it's just so clear that Donny and Mike just play better football and link up the midfield a lot better. I mean, I know what you said, like it wasn't a complete performance, didn't pull up trees, but did McFred really pull up trees every week?
Well, okay,
They can pull up AstroTurf.
What I was saying about that, I don't think they could. But so what I was going to say on that is that I think you know, you're very much right in that you can't, when you make that many changes, you're going to mess with the team cohesion. All of my Football Manager players out there will know that, right? You can't switch out 11, man. The team cohesion's finished. Like, you can't do that. But a part of me thinks Ollie doesn't care. Like, when you look at the things Ollie has said over the past couple of weeks, you know that, you know, the press conference that everyone went crazy about. In that press conference, he was talking about how, you know, what he wants from players. He wants players with desire. He wants players, you know, who want to go out there and win. And so I don't think he's thinking in his head, oh, you know, we've made a lot of changes. The cohesion's not going to be there. I think he's thinking, actually, no, you guys should be better than the first team. You guys are hungrier than the first team because you guys want to be in the first team. So in that sense, even though I might agree with you, I don't think that's how Ollie will see it whatsoever, just based off of what we know about him.
Oh yeah, they won't be getting picked again.
Yeah.
You just know it, don't we? Even though I do think that is unfair, but anyway.
The thing with Donny van der Beek, that's what I loved about him today. Probably one of the players you could look at and go, you can see what he's all about. Let's just say in stark contrast to somebody like Martial. And I personally think Donny van der Beek, when you see him, it's quite uncomfortable to watch him because he almost tries too hard. There was a couple of instances today, gives the ball away, you know, where man on, and he's lost it. But you kind of forgive him for that because I think he's trying so hard to impress. He gets so little game time and chance to impress that when he's actually brought onto that field and he gets his time, it's almost like he's trying too hard. So when I look at somebody like Martial today, who again, I say his body language looks a bit off, looks like he's not arsed, bit disinterested. When you see somebody like Van der Beek, I see that fight in Van der Beek where it's almost like, I want to be at this club. I'm fighting for my future. I want to be in that team on Saturday. So I think that it works with a lot of players that played this evening. But yeah, I think you picked the right player out there to say, well, in that midfield mix where we all know we're lightweight, aren't we? We're not blessed in that department. We are further forward. But in that role, there is a role. And Van der Beek must look at that and think, I could get into this team. I'm good enough to get in there.
Yeah, look, shout out to Leo Man United. He said Greenwood makes that chance. People would be praising Donny van der Beek even more. Donny van der Beek coming better than McFred. Dolo and Donny van der Beek need that fame time. Shout out to Zayn Miasi as well with the super sticker. See, I don't want to, you know, I don't really want to hear from Zayn tonight. I feel like he will have plenty to say. All right, guys, you know, sort of moving forward from that, right? You know, I think ultimately we're all looking at things, and I actually think, you know, Leo makes a good point there where very much these split second decisions, or if certain things just went a different way, we might be talking about the game a bit differently, right? Because we might be able to pay more attention to some of the positives that we did see from players. Because I think in many aspects, you could look at, you know, Sancho and say, oh, you know what, actually, Sancho did a couple of things better in this game than I thought. You could say that about a couple other players where there were positives, but overall, there were too many negatives. And when you have a bad result like that, you can't really focus on as many of the positives. I want to ask you guys if you actually did see any positives. Maybe you didn't. Maybe, I'm, being optimistic as usual. Jordan, was there anything that you saw that maybe did impress you outside of Donny? Because we've spoken a lot about Donny. Was there anything outside of him that did impress you and did give you hope moving forward this season?
Yeah, I think the Donny thing, like you guys have already touched on.
It's not got much to say here, clearly.
No, really. I don't think we've seen anything we didn't already know. This was an opportunity for players to change perception, build hope of chance to get into the first 11. And I don't really think we've seen it. I think Sancho needed to get those minutes under his belt. But other than that, no, it wasn't great. I just want to get our first 11 back and roll on to the Villa game.
I'm sorry, I
was just about to say, did anyone else actually see John speaking right now?
Hey, big man, what's going on here, bro? My man's not even moving his mouth. And he's
like a ventriloquist or whatever you call it.
I'm gonna come out and come back in.
Hey, Jordan, please look at the stream and see how Jordan is. But I wasn't even moving his lips, bro. He's just going, when the words are coming out, I don't know how that's happening. But
we just did a little pre-record nearly.
Honestly, that was a bit mad. It was a bit mad. Look, I'll ask you, Kev. Was there any positive you took from today's game, or is it rather bleak from you as well?
I could say Sancho's still finding his feet, looking a bit better. Van der Beek could be the main standout one. I don't know what other positives to put a spin on this game today. I mean, we can look at statistics. The statistics are great. We've had 27 attempts. 6 of them were on target. So in that sense, I would like to think that once we rotate back to full strength, if we can create chances, then the main man will be back up front, won't he? Which is Ronaldo, and Cavani coming back as well. So, but best point about Dalot as well, I think it's quite an interesting one as well, because he's a total contrast to what Aaron Wan-Bissaka is. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's a fantastic defender who rarely he does get forward, but he will very rarely bomb a ball into the box. Whereas we've seen that from Dalot tonight. Yes, it didn't always, make it past the first man, didn't make it to the intended person, but the intent's there and the threat's there. So I'm thinking, when you've got a decent number 9 up, because in theory this evening we played with a false number 9, which sounds awful, but I'm rolling with that and I stick by it. If you've got a proper number 9 on that field and somebody that you can give service to, then the ball's going in the back of the net.
This result does frustrate me, because I think there's been a lot of conversation, and we talked about it, Kev as well last night on the show, where it's like, as much as you can look at this season in the Premier League, for example, and we're sitting pretty high on points, especially in comparison to where we were last year this time, but the performances as a whole, even from the first team, haven't been the most amazing of performances. You can look even at all the wins, you can look at things where you're like, actually, we really need to improve here. And so then when the second string, has that kind of a performance, you can't even make the case of, maybe we should give some of the second string guys a run in the first team, because maybe they can bring something different that will help us in some of these bigger games, right? Because that is one of the things, and I think maybe we'll see it with the likes of the Low in the Champions League and whatnot, but I think that's something that people were really excited about, right? Like, if the Low had a phenomenal game and we had won, people would be going, actually, maybe that's something that you do in the Premier League, instead of playing Wan-Bissaka, but that opportunity is now lost. Those players don't have more opportunities to prove themselves now, because I don't know where they're playing. It's not in the Premier League and not in the Champions League. Maybe the FA Cup, I doubt that as well. I don't want to, the season's not, in Mayday by any means, but, these are concerns that I think people are going to have long term. Are you guys starting to get a bit worried now? That's one less trophy for Ollie to win and to prove to people that he's capable of actually winning, even though the Carabao Cup wouldn't have probably satisfied anybody. Are you guys starting to get a bit worried about how the season's going to go? I'll start with you, Beth.
Yeah, not going to lie. I'm always positive. I always try and be positive. I mean, I said we're going to win the league on the pre-season preview, for God's sake. But I am a little bit worried. It's like, you know, when you're in like a relationship, well, I feel like someone's used this metaphor before, but you know, when you're in a relationship and red flags keep popping up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like my relationship with Manchester United. Like, I watch them and I always think we're going to be better than what we are. I always say to people at the end of the game, you're always so disappointed because you can see the potential there. You know that we can be good, but it's just not happening. And you know what? You'll be watching the game and you'll be getting so frustrated because realistically, we don't play well. I personally, some games will have really good games, but consistently, I don't actually think we play that good football. That's just my personal opinion. But sometimes we end up winning a game through the players that we have and how technically gifted they are. And sometimes we will get a good chance. Sometimes you see that moment where we can be so good, and it kind of encourages you to keep thinking that we actually are that good when we're not. And that is the problem with Man United. I feel like a lot of people think we're better than what we are. But then I have the argument with myself. I look back to last season, I'm like, but you can't come second out of luck. And then I tell myself that, I'm like, we must be doing something right. But it's weird. It's like Ollie has this team that consistently plays bad, but also consistently gets results. And it's so weird to see because you watch other teams that don't even get as many points as us, and they low-key play better football than us. And it's so weird to see. And it's like, I said it time and time again, when you play the way that Ollie does, which is, by the way, it has to be down to the coaching and management, because you've got the 11 set of players here today, the 11 set of players that are from our first team, and both games have resemblances of each other. Even though the first team kind of are better quality, the style of play is the same and they resembles each other. So it's got to be down to the manager. If you play like that and don't score, if you play like that and lose, people are going to have problems with it. People are going to criticise it. If you get say if we got a lucky goal then at the end and we won on penalties, we wouldn't be as critical. That's what always kind of gets Ollie out of the mud, I think. That them moments of brilliance, but then when we don't play like that, people have a lot of problems. So yeah, there is red flags because I always think sometimes the luck's going to run out, but then when you have Bruno and Ronaldo in your team, is it? I don't know. We'll just have to see. I do question though whether I love Ollie and I do want him to do well, but I do question whether a manager with a little bit more, I don't know, experience, someone who actually knows the game. Like I'm not saying Solskjaer doesn't know the game in and out.
Well, you did say that.
Wait.
You did say that, but
Did you just hear that? The penny just dropped in Beth's
No,
house.
I'm not saying that.
I heard it.
A lot of people, George and Jen, being serious, because I know we've had about this before. About me, I always say everyone thinks I'm staunch Ollie, and I'm not. You could say I'm on the fence. I want Ollie to do well, but I'm not quite sure. I hope he proves good enough. I'm not quite sure. But I feel like a lot of people in my position right now, like the more it goes on, this style of play, the more frustrated you get, because you just want to see your team play good football. And I don't know, like the Wolves game, like Southampton game, this game, even though, like, to be fair, I did think we did create a few chances in the game against West Ham at the weekend, but it still wasn't great. Like, you just want to see a game where Manchester United go out and dominate and play well. Some people say it's because the Prem's like the toughest league in the world now, so you're not going to get that. But with the players we have, you just think to yourself, surely. It's like Sancho. Like, you can't just say it's because it's a different league. He should be doing better than what he is right now. And I look at that and I think, I'm not trying to blame Ollie for Sancho not being quite good enough yet, but you just think, if he was playing in a team that was a bit more cohesive, had a better pattern, like, would he be playing better? Because I feel like him and DONNY are similar players. They're not that risk take. They're not players that take risks a lot. They're good with the football at the feet. They're very intricate players. And I don't see us as that type of team, but we should be able to do both things. And anyway, I'm in a circle with myself constantly. Are we actually good or are we lucky? I don't know.
Well, look, but before I want to ask Jordan, I want to pose that question to you and ask you whether you think we are actually good or there's good moments or whether we're lucky. But I'm going to read out some super chats. So Jerome T. Green said, say what you want. United's B team should blow West Ham's B team out the water. This is on Ollie. Yes, I think that's very fair to say. Peter McLaren has said, if individual players do show the magic, we look like a bang average team. Surely it falls on Ollie. We wanted Jose out for being boring football, yet we seem to give Ollie a pass. His football is rotten, no plan B. Callum D with 79p, thank you very much for the contribution. We also have Just Me, who said, Heartbroken for Donny. Midfield moved the ball well today. Guys, keep getting your super chats in. Be sure to like the video as well. Subscribe to the channel. You know, we're going to be here for a bit longer talking about this game. Now, Jordan, luck or not luck? Are you starting to get concerned about this season? Let me know.
I'm not concerned. I think that the trophies that I really want to go for, obviously the Champions League and the Premier League, and until we get knocked out of those, or it looks like we can't win them, then I will start hearing my views about it. I don't want to spend the whole season angry, and then you start looking for faults in the manager when there aren't really faults in the manager. I looked at that starting 11 today, and I got to say, when I seen it come out an hour before the game, I was like, you know what, fair play. Yeah, let's go for it. And it didn't happen. Could he have influenced the game a little bit more? Yes, but I feel like that's just been Ollie the whole time that he's been in charge. He could do a bit more in games when we're not winning. I'm disappointed because I do think the Carabao Cup was probably the easiest trophy for us to win, and it looks like West Ham have got Man City in the next round, so it would have been nice to have beaten them early to give us a better chance of winning. But no, I think that the league is key. I think that's the one we all really want to get back, and the Champions League. So until it looks like mathematically impossible, then no, I'm not going to start panicking.
Eric, I can't actually pronounce that. Eric Torresian says, I know a lot of people are Ollie out because they feel he can't take us to the next level, but which manager available would be able to take us to that next level? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people in chat throwing in names there. And I actually want to call somebody out. Gavin Anthony says, Levin, if you hate Ollie so much, go support Pep. Gavin, shut up. I never said I hate Ollie. Shut your mouth.
Who said that?
Who said I hate Ollie? Who said I hate Ollie? Like, it's actually unreal. Gavin, shut up. Nobody cares. Now, moving forward, I'll ask you the same question, Kev.
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of what we've done this season is down to just luck, or do you think that's maybe a bit unfair on Ollie and some of the players? And are you starting to get a bit concerned about how the season's going?
Listen, it'd be a total overreaction if we're going to carry on tonight about being knocked out the Carabao Cup. Like Jordan says, it's on the list of priorities, it's bottom. But I understand at the same time, it's probably the easiest one to win. And I was here last night mentioning that Guardiola and even Jose Mourinho always took this competition very, very seriously. And there was a good reason for that, because it's the first trophy that they respectively won at Man City and Chelsea. And that is, I always say, you could use that as a springboard. And Solskjaer and Manchester United and us as fans are crying out for a trophy. I'm not for 1 minute saying if we'd have won it this season, we'd be parading, you know, around Deansgate on an open top bus going, we've won the Carabao Cup. It's just the fact, it's just the fact as a collective group of players to actually have that day out at Wembley and taste winning something, and then you move on to the next thing. Now, it's not going to happen this season. So we've got the FA Cup now, which is be the third choice kind of trophy. I would say the Champions League would be second, because for me, the main one is the Premier League. Now, where are we in the Premier League? We are up there at the minute. Is it luck? One thing I will say is we are having absolutely no luck with penalty calls.
Yeah.
That penalty this evening would have changed this game totally. Now, I don't know what Noble had to do to Jesse Lingard without actually ripping his shorts off in the penalty area, you know, to the ground. The referee's got a great view of it, and I understand they haven't got VAR, but I go back to West Ham at the weekend. There was 3 penalty shouts, 2 of them that I think were absolutely stonewall. We've got VAR. For some reason, they didn't even get looked at. It was just like, I don't know whether it's his bias against Ronaldo. It's like his reputation goes, you know, against him or whatever. They look at it. But then I see it again this evening, and I'm like, the referee's got a great view of that. And it's Jesse Lingard. He's dragged him down to the floor. That would have been a game changer this evening. You go in at half-time, 1-1. The dynamics of the game changed totally. And I am like, listen, it's fine lines football. Yes, you do need a bit of luck. But if you're talking about luck, that's one thing I don't think you can say that we're getting at the minute. You can't say at the weekend, David De Gea saving that penalty, that's not luck.
No.
That's down to David De Gea. You know, United were lucky at the week. No, you know, if Noble misses it or something, puts it over the bar, puts it wide. You might say that there's an element of luck in that, but David De Gea pulled us out at the weekend, so I don't subscribe to that.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to say we've been lucky this season. I think you can look at moments where things haven't gone our way and things, you know, sort of have gone our way. You know, if you're looking at West Ham over the weekend, like you say, Kev, you know, I don't think it's fair to say that's luck whatsoever. You know, by all means, like you said, we should have had penalties go in our favour, and we haven't. Even tonight, that, you know, Lingard probably should have had a penalty, and yeah, you know, there wasn't VAR and whatnot. But it's becoming a thing now to watch out for, because last season we got, you know, a decent amount of pens, which were deserved in my opinion. I don't really think there was ever a time where we got a penalty that wasn't deserved. But you know, you sort of saw the social media narrative. United get so many pens. Funny, because Leicester actually had more pens than us, but nobody ever said anything about Leicester. Oh, United get so many pens, da, da, da. And it does sort of feel like maybe there is something to that, Kev, where, you know, we aren't getting things go away as much because of that sort of reaction from last season. Is that something you guys feel is actually going on and something to watch out for? Or am I just overreacting to that, you know, too early into the season?
No, I think that is a thing. It feels like all the rest of them being like, don't give Man United a penalty unless it's literally like on the verge of injury or something. Like there can't be that many that have been overlooked. Like surely we've literally had 4 penalty shouts now within the last 2 games, and not a single one has gone our way. I'm not saying every single one was a penalty, but out of them, I thought, personally for me, I thought 3 were, and 3 have been overlooked. And I just want to come back to that point that we shouldn't rely on penalties to win games. And that's why I was so happy that we still won that West Ham game without having to have them penalties. And that was a great way to win it. I thought David really kind of proved himself in that moment. And we shouldn't have to rely on penalties. We should be creating more chances, in my opinion. But it is something definitely to watch out for, because I do think since Klopp came out in the press and started making a massive deal about our penalties, I do think referees have been very, very wary to give us one.
Yeah, you just hit the nail on the head there, Beth. That's exactly what I was going to say. I think it stems back to Klopp and Mourinho last season, both digging out the fact that we picked up a lot of penalties. And this is where it comes to, you know, having a manager that is respected or has a reputation. They're worth X number of points a season just from being on the sideline or in the press, you know, in press conferences and stuff. Those managers have definitely lent on referees, and they seem to be digging us out for it this season.
What I just want to quickly say is, obviously, I know we're not getting carried away about the Carabao Cup loss. Like, if it was a Premier League, if it's Champions League, it would have been different. And I'm not getting carried away with it. Like I said, I'm not going to lose sleep over it tonight. Obviously, it's disappointing. But are you guys actually happy with seeing this type of play consistently, weekly? Like, are you actually happy? Are you going into games like confident still?
Beth, what's happened? What's happened?
No, John,
talk to me, Beth.
You're making it out like you're so much. I mean, I try to be positive, but it's hard. Like, I just want to see football.
We've got Cristiano Ronaldo in our team. If that's not enough for any fan to want to go watch United every week.
No, I do want to watch United every game. I do get excited, but I'm just saying, are you happy with the style of play?
We've got Cristiano Ronaldo.
No.
Guys. I'm just reading something on my phone now. Ollie's actually done an interview with MUTV, and there's a quote that's come out from it that I'll read to you guys, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So Solskjaer has said, "We're not great when we play against a low block team and just sling crosses in because we're not that type of team. We didn't have those type of players." React, because what type of team are we? That's all we've been doing the past couple of games against a low block. We've just been slinging crosses in. So if you know that's not the type of team we should be or we are, why? You guys react. I'm just the host, so you guys, you know, react. Give me your thoughts.
I want your opinion, Levin.
Yeah. I don't have an opinion. I'm just impartial. I'm the host.
It's like I could open up a whole can of worms and a whole can of whoop ass now, but it's just, look, we're not seeing anything that we didn't see last season. This is exactly what we saw. We lost games we should never have lost. Games where a manager should influence the games, they should influence the games. And, you know, that's why there's such a divide in our fan base, because a percentage of the fans feel like we deserve a better manager managing those squad of players that will get more out of them. And then the other half live for that romance and want the ex-legend to come back and be the guy that wins the trophies. But look, I said it in the summer, I said it after the Europa League final. Ollie isn't that guy. It isn't going to happen, guys. And it's a case of how patient we're going to be and how much time we're going to give him. But ultimately, someone above him is going to have to make a decision, because there's managers out there that would get a lot more out of the squad. I bump into fans in the street and they're like, oh, with the squad you got, you should be doing this. The squad you got, you should be doing that. We know that as fans. But what is limiting us is the person in charge.
I'm sorry, I love every time you say that guy, it just makes me think of the video. You're not that guy, pal. Trust me, you're not that guy.
You're not that guy.
Kev, what do you make of those comments from Ollie? Is that frustrating to you? Because ultimately he's the one that makes these decisions. So for him to come out and say that now is a bit confusing, no?
Oh, do you know what? Do you know, he's starting to actually sound like the manager that's actually beat us tonight, who was somehow Manchester United's manager, David Moyes. Yeah. David Moyes used to come out with this kind of shit now and again, and you'd be like, he seriously just said that? But then because obviously you're a United fan, you're like, oh, I stand by him and all that. But I think the worst this unravels, we were talking about this the other week when Solskjaer was on about, oh, 6s, 8s, whatever's. They're just midfielders, and we were all like, well, they're not, because they've all got different roles in midfield, when football has moved on. I understand that Solskjaer was in this team with Keane and Scholes, which, the greatest I've ever seen as a pairing at Manchester United. And that was easy because Keane was what you would call your holding midfielder. Scholes was the one, that bombed on with the goal threat and that, and they worked in tandem. It was brilliant to watch, but that was a 4-4-2 formation, which no clubs play that anymore. Maybe it is overthinked and that, but we spoke about that. We discussed it last week. I can't defend that. I'm just hoping he's kind of just having us over, because really it doesn't really make much sense, does it? Well, does it? Like David Moyes, like I say, when David Moyes used to come out with all that stuff, we'd get beat and he'd come out and he'd say, well, we tried, and I used to be there throwing stuff at me. The amount of tellies I went through, just ruining tellies, throwing stuff at it, going, what do you mean you tried? This is Manchester United. It's not good enough to try. It's not Everton. This is Manchester United. So
we never would have tolerated this from somebody that wasn't an ex-legend, would we?
No, this is the thing.
We wouldn't have.
The thing, though, the results are there. The results are there. I know the trophy's not there yet, but the improvement's there, the squad's there. For me, it's just the actual style of play that isn't there. And people in the comments now saying, oh, finally best turn to Ollie out and all this. I'm not Ollie in and I'm not Ollie out. I don't believe in that personally. I will support Ollie at this club as a manager for as long as he's there, and I'll always support him. But you can support someone and you can criticise them. It's a little bit like Rio Ferdinand did, and Ollie kind of got a bit about it.
He was rattled.
Yeah, he was rattled. But the thing is, I support Ollie. I want him to do well. God, there's nothing more that I want. I want United to win stuff. But just because I want him to do well doesn't mean I'm going to sit here and say we play really well every game. Because the truth is, I think we have started the season poorly. And that's just an opinion. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I think we haven't, because we have.
Well, playing devil's advocate there, Beth, right? Because I think there'll be a lot of people that hear you say that and go, oh, Beth, I understand we've been knocked out of the Carabao Cup and whatnot, but look at where we are in the league. We're up there in the league. This is a much better start to the league season than we had last year. We've seen years where we started the league poorly in recent years. How are you reacting like this when we're only a couple games in and we are actually doing quite well in the league? So what would you say to those people who'd make that point?
No, that's the thing. I'm happy with where we are in the league. And you look at the table and you think, wow, I wish we didn't draw against Southampton, because we could be right up there, because that's a game that we again could have won. But I think we're lucky to get the points that we did out of all of them games. I think it was luck created by ourselves. But it's the same thing. I keep saying, we are doing well in the league, but I just don't know, with the type of performances we put in, how long them results can last for on the style of play that we're at. I hope I'm wrong. If we play this style and we win the league, God, I won't complain. But can I see us winning the league with how we started off the season? personally, I can. I'd love to be proven wrong. I would love to be, but I just think we need to be dominating teams a lot more. And I'm coming off topic now because this isn't on the back of the Carabao Cup. It really isn't. It's just from the overall start of the season. But I mean, if we keep 10 points, then absolutely play however you want. But I just don't know if we can, because I think everyone here knows. I don't think personally we started off as good as we could have done, but that's just, I don't know. That's in game. The results we have been good, but it's just a style that I'm personally just not that on board with at the moment.
Well, you mentioned
Beth. Sorry, Beth. Let me ask a question, Beth. I'm not digging you out before you say anything.
It's like, go on.
Okay, no, because I could, but I'm not. I'm holding back. I'm really holding back. I like you, Beth. I like you. But
I like you too, Jordan. Right,
has the style of play changed from last season?
No,
is this not the same?
No, I've just become less patient. All right. I've just my patience is wearing away, because personally, like, I could call me naive over the summer, and God, I hope it could improve. We're not that far into the season. It could massively improve. I want us to go out into the Champions League and prove everyone wrong and start dominating teams, and I hope that happens. But I thought over the summer, with the signings that were coming in and the squad depth that we had, I thought we'd see Solskjaer play it a lot differently, take a few more risks, play a lot less safe, be a little bit less pragmatic. And I'm not saying this about tonight. Like, tonight's irrelevant. I don't think tonight was really on the manager, to be honest. But overall, I think the way he's managing the team is exactly the same as last year. And I don't know, last year I know we did well, and everyone says second isn't a trophy. But I think he could have done even better last year, and that's just the only thing. You see the potential there with this team, and you just want us to go out and dominate teams, play good football. And when you think it's going to change and you give someone time and they bring their own players in, and then it doesn't, it kind of does stay a little bit pragmatic. We're not going out still. We're not seeing that attacking football that he promised us. Like, your patience does start to wear thin. But God, if he carries his style on and we keep getting the points and it carries on like this and we didn't win the league, I won't complain. But it's just, I don't know if it can. That's my only thought. Time will tell.
Well, look, Anthony Tracy came over super chat saying, results are better than our performances. That always catches up to you over the season. And look, that's something to watch out for now. I think there is definitely a case to be made that the results have been better than the actual performances on the pitch. I want to take us back, though, to things that happened in this game, because I think it's, whenever you have a bad game, it's very easy to start talking about things in totality.
We've gone off on a tangent, haven't we?
We have, and it's fine, because there's been some great conversation, great points made all around. I do want to ask you one thing on the game that I don't think we discussed at all. The goal that they actually scored, right? There's been a lot of conversation on Twitter. I've seen a lot of divide on where the blame goes to that. I didn't get to watch it and listen to it, but I saw like the Sky analysis, and whoever it was on Sky couldn't hear it, so I don't know, apologies. They were putting the blame on Donny, because I saw them highlighting Donny and whatnot, so I'm assuming they were putting the blame on Donny. Let me know if that was right. I saw a lot of people saying it was Tellez's fault. I want to know from you three, where did you sort of put the blame when it came to the goal that we conceded today? I'll start with you, Kev, the beautiful Kev.
Thank you very much, sir. I would put it down to Tellez. Gets absolutely rinsed on the line. An easy ball put past him. Pace. Well, listen, he's not played for Manchester United for how long? If he's not up to speed, then it evidently shown today. A ball was put round him. The lad's done him for pace, and that's exactly where I would put it for. I don't quite understand how you blame Donny van der Beek, because for me, if Luke Shaw's in that team, he defends that no problem. Defender's not getting around him. Even if it's a body check or whatever, or a bit of smart thinking, this guy's going on his arse, he puts him down and he's not making it past him. Or he matches him for pace.
I saw a lot of people who were saying it was Donny's fault on Twitter, and a lot of them were saying they felt Donny was wrong for actually going over, right? And he should have stayed with his man. Do you agree with that sort of analysis, Kev, or would you say not really? It does ultimately come down to Tellez.
It comes down to a one-on-one situation, and as a defender, that is what you're trained to do. So if an attacking player is running at you, that's what you're doing every day in training, aren't you? You learn how to deal with these kind of things. You either push them out towards a corner flag, or like I say, you take one for the team. As long as it's not in the penalty area, you bring that man down, and that's what you do from the position he was at. But he's just ghosted through, like Tellez was a ghost, literally, ran straight through him. So no, I'd say Tellez. I mean, this is not a witch hunt on Tellez. I'm not saying it was Tellez's fault. That's why we're out the Carabao Cup. Blame him and all that.
Yeah. No, because it was a key moment in the game. I want to ask you. I do want to get your thoughts on it, Jordan. But before, I've got to read out some more super chats. Keep coming in with the super chats, guys. We got Kips United 21 saying, Beth, do you think we need a new coaching staff instead of a new manager, as Ollie doesn't do the coaching and it's McKenna and Carrick? You can answer that right after I read the next couple. FPL Nelson says, we still don't have a proper style of play, and that is down to Ollie. In-game management is too reactionary too. Another manager might get more. Billy Osterwish, I hope I'm saying that wrong. Apologies if I'm not, my brother. I'm not sure where this false sense of we started the season better comes from. United have played 7 games so far. The record, 4 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses, and we haven't played any top teams. We'll go back to that first one that was directed to you, Beth. Do you think we need a new coaching staff instead of a new manager? And do you think that's even possible?
I don't know. It's hard to know without knowing what goes on behind the scenes, because you never know what actually does happen because we don't see it. I mean, I've always said I'd absolutely love to have one of them documentaries done on us. I don't think it'll ever happen.
All or nothing.
It's one of them things where you really want to see what actually happens. Like, does Ollie go in on the players at halftime? Does he shout at them like some people doesn't think he does? Does he only manage the team? Does he not do the coaching like he says he does? The one thing I would say, and I mean, everyone does the coaching differently, so it's not one of the things I'm too harsh with, but one of the things that does slightly annoy me is that it is always Carrick and McKenna on the sideline. It's very rarely Ollie. He's always sat up on his little iPad. And that's just one thing that kind of stresses me out, because I feel like as a manager, you should be passionate, you should be on the sideline, you should be telling your team from yourself your tactics. And I think sometimes when it comes to substitutions and difficult decisions in games, like obviously I go to the home games and sometimes you see it on TV as well. Whenever there is a point in the game where you know there needs to be a change, I mean, it's okay consulting your coaching staff completely, but he seems to consult with them for a very, very long time before he actually makes his decision. And sometimes, I think that's sometimes why the subs are so late, because he spends ages discussing it with his coaching staff. And sometimes I think just make a decision yourself, have the balls and go with it. And that's just one thing, on my opinion. I mean, I don't know what happens, so I could never say, but I do think whoever is coaching the team does need to have a kick up the arse or something, because it's the same thing every week, and that's the same things that we struggle with are the same things that we keep on struggling with. The same things that we're good at are the things that we keep on being good at. Nothing's really changing that much apart from the quality of the players that we have in our team. So that's where the coaching staff does need looking at. Whether it is Ollie that's doing it, whether it is Carrick and McKenna, I'm not sure.
The thing is that it's the same in any industry. If you're the manager, I'm the promotions manager of the clubs that I work at. When I go to a club and take on a new club, I bring my VIP managers, my DJs, my street promoters, and everything else. If one of those is not performing, it's me that's responsible. So it's Ollie that's responsible. Ollie needs to move them out. We shouldn't be sat here going, we want Ollie to succeed, so maybe we should move the coach up. Ollie needs to be ruthless enough to move them out. The thing about the making a decision, see the Chelsea game the other day where Tuchel made the change at half time and they went on to win the game. And he was asked afterwards to explain the reason why he made that decision. And he gave a full tactical analysis of exactly the reason why he made that change, what he's seen in the first half and what he wanted them to do in the second half. I've never seen Ollie do that. I've never seen Ollie, not Ollie make a decision to change a game. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I've never seen Ollie in a presser say, I made the decision at halftime because this was happening in the first half and this is what needed to happen in the second half, and then that happened. And this is the difference. This is the levels to management.
Decisions. Sorry, Levin. It's decisions if we think back to, was it PSG, Champions League, Old Trafford, Fred, yellow card, ticking time bomb, and literally, if you went on social media at half time, you could just see that coming. You know, it was a car crash waiting to happen, and everyone was like, I would get Fred off now. And this is just us talking shit, you know, on social media, you know, and we're like, just get him off now. Gets a red card, you know, the rest is history kind of thing. It's them big calls like that managers in the past that we have actually had would have made. The likes of even Van Gaal to an extent would have done it, but Mourinho was the main one. You're talking half an hour into a match. If somebody wasn't performing, Mourinho would, you know, it wouldn't have been any of this. We'll give him 60 minutes. You know, like this evening, it always seems to be that 60-minute mark for some reason. We're giving the last half an hour. Sometimes they're too slow to react. Mourinho was like, we're talking half an hour in the game, half time even. Right, let's change it now. Although Ollie has done that. Southampton, we think of Cavani, 2-0 down, bring him on, win 3-2. There has been instances like it, but you will live and die by this.
Kev, sorry, just on that point, mate. I remember that was the game I was thinking of when he has made substitutions that have gone on and won a game. But is that him tactically changing the game? Or is that him throwing on a player going, try and win us the game?
You got to give him a bit of credit for that.
Do you know? But I'm asking you a question. Has he looked at that and gone, right, you know, is he right? We'll put this player on to nullify that player because that player's doing this to us. And then, do you understand what I mean? Like, how has he influenced the game in that way?
But listen, if you look at young boys, right, he gets absolutely slated. And listen, I understand again that the fan base and that it was a disaster result. Everybody looks at it. But then we fast forward to West Ham, whatever days after, at the weekend. And Solskjaer makes them changes. And I know for a fact there would have been United fans looking, Matic, what's Matic coming on for? You know, Lingard's coming on. Matic plays the ball into Lingard. Lingard scores an absolute worldie. There's nothing said about Solskjaer and the fact that he changed this game by bringing on all the substitutions that he's made. And that was his decision to bring them players on. And the same game at the weekend, Tuchel at Tottenham. I know it's a bigger game, but brings on a couple of players or whatever, changes and that. And everybody's hailing Tuchel. Listen, I know he's won the Champions League and stuff and that. But what I'm trying to get at is, and maybe Beth was just going to touch on it as well, is that Solskjaer, it's literally, there is no happy medium, right? If we get beat, it's Ollie out, he's shit, he's a PE teacher, he's this, that. And then if we win, it's very little credit. It seems to go towards the players, like, oh, it was Ronaldo who pulled us out, it's this, that. There is no happy medium with Solskjaer at the minute, which I don't understand.
Do you know what, Kev? I actually really agree with that point. Like, he does get heavily criticised for his bad decisions or lack of decisions, but the decisions that actually pay off, he doesn't get as much credit for. And you do have to give him credit for the West Ham game. I said it at the time. He did make that change to bring Matic on. For me, I thought it was a little bit late because I thought you could see Matic need to come on way earlier. But he did end up breaking the lines. And Lingard did end up scoring like the goal that did win us it, and then the Cavani one as well. You could say he's just thrown the player on, but he still made that decision that changed the game. So he does deserve credit as well as criticism. But
guys,
we need to do that.
Changing players and changing tactics are completely different.
No, I know, but you still deserve credit.
Yeah, he deserves credit. Anyway, we got to wrap it up, guys. We've got to wrap it up. This is why I didn't want to open up a can of worms because I'll keep this all night.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'd all love to do this all night, but we do have to come to a close. It's not been the best of nights for Manchester United, but we have plenty more games left this season. We will be back this season with more fan forums for you guys. We very much appreciate all the super chats. Thank you to all the mods for keeping the chat in check. Thank you for all the people chatting as well. Be sure to like the video while you're here. It's been 112K. I've been joined by 3 amazing people. Guys, let everyone know where they can find you on social media before we head out. Beth, where can the people find you?
At Beth TMUFC on Twitter.
Kev?
And that's it.
At Kevin Ashford 7 on Twitter and Instagram, and Man United Vancam on YouTube. Thank you.
Jordan, they already know where to find you, but just remind them again.
At Jordan Valley's Twitter, at Jordan Valley's UK, Instagram, hit me up.
This man's verified and everything.
He's a
Blue
big man
tick,
out
gang.
here, you know. He's a big man out here. Look,
Yeah,
at
go,
11-2K on everything. I appreciate you guys very, very much. We will be back sometime soon. See you later. Good night.